Hey there, and welcome back to another Miraculous Ladybug Season 2 retrospective review, where I go through old episodes of Miraculous I never got around to making a review on, and give my thoughts. Season 2 so far has proved to be really fun, with so many different iconic episodes. Seriously, it seems that most of the classics I can remember from the early nostalgic days of this show, they're from Season 2. This episode is likely no exception, as we've come to Riposte, where the character of Kagami makes her debut. Hell yeah, let's jump into things, shall we? So we start off the episode following Marinette, who's trying out for the only open slot on the fencing team. Why does Marinette want to join the fencing team, you might ask? Why? So she has an excuse to hang out with Adrien, so she can stare at him, blush, and murmur his name in a breathy voice. She's apparently been studying the rules of fencing all week, according to Tiki, so they both think she has it in the bag. What? So she thinks that reading the rules, and at best, having watched a couple of YouTube videos, maybe having practice with a broom or something in her bedroom, is somehow going to get her the final slot of the most prestigious fencing academy in Paris. I would assume that most of these other kids have at least some sort of fencing experience, right? Premium delusion. Even better is that she's one of the clumsiest people out there. She's more likely to be humiliated in front of Adrien than anything else when she's destroyed and scores no points against anybody or doesn't know how to compete in the sport at all. Oh, my palms are already sweating just from the thought of how much of a disaster this would be in real life. Second-hand embarrassment for sure. Anyway, the trials begin and a mysterious masked fencer approaches Marinette and in a voice that very clearly belongs to Adrien, asks if she's looking for somebody. She launches into a rant about how she wants to see Adrien and whilst describing him, calls him super handsome and gets a dopey look on her face, seemingly starting daydreaming about him. Of course, Adrien is the guy under the mask and I do have to wonder, how is it that Marinette is so obsessed with this boy, and yet is unable to ever hear his voice and realise that it's him? I get it when it's him as Cat Noir, as quantum masking or whatever. It makes sense because magic and whatnot. You can explain that away, but here, in the midst of her extreme fandom, she can't recognise his voice at all? Honestly, I'd be shocked if she didn't recognise the sound of his footsteps or even his smell. We're talking A-grade creeper over here. Live up to your reputation, Marinette, god damn. Regardless, the dude takes the thirst like a champ and just breezes on past it with a simple, thank you. She massacres her attempt to answer his query about being interested in fencing, and the whole interaction really does feel like he knows she has a crush on him. I swear later seasons try to paint him as being an idiot who doesn't know anything, but it does feel like he knows here and is just very nice about it. So he walks her through the opening stance of the exercise and the coach tells them all to begin. And we see in the background that some of the newcomers are actually rather skilled, and some are truly hopeless, whilst Marinette's clearly just spaced out staring at Adrien. In any case, Adrien goes for her and somehow Marinette's just a really good fencer. She manages to score hits, she knows techniques. The hell? Surely this is not a sport you could just pick up so easily with merely a week of theory. Oh, whatever. At this point, I think we have to suspend our disbelief when it comes to Marinette and the things she's capable of doing. Here is where we finally meet Kagami, who, already wearing a fencing mask, arrives and demands a spot on the team, leading to the coach declaring that the spot is open if she can defeat one of his students, of which she chooses Adrien because he's the best combatant. At first, they seem to actually somewhat follow fencing rules. Not that I have any idea what the actual rules of fencing are, but neither of them can get a definitive victory, as they're landing hits at the same time. So Kagami requests they unplug from the machine, and thus they fight again. This time throwing all the rules of the sport out the window apparently. Fighting their way out of the arena, grappling with one another, going upstairs, doing backflips and shit like it's a lightsaber duel. Hell yeah! They're breaking the rules, but this is top tier. Also, my god, Kagami without any powers at all is absurdly strong. At one point it looks like she's trying to throw him over the railing of the balcony and back into the courtyard, which would probably hurt him quite badly. Girl has no chill. I'm starting to think she might be taking this bout a little too seriously. Probably think if she kills him, she'll definitely make the team for sure, then there'll be 2 spots up for grabs. Now he's out of the way, that increases her chances. The fight heads upstairs and into the library, so the coach tries to follow, only to get trampled by his students, and then hit by a book trolley flying down the stairs. Woof! Ouch. That is a Home Alone moment for sure. Anyway, both Adrien and Kagami get the hit, and I tried to see who actually hits first, and to be honest, I have no clue. Going frame by frame, I honestly don't know. I guess it's meant to be ambiguous, although I did see some screenshots on Reddit that tried to show that Adrien gets the first hit. Regardless, as Marinette's the only person there, she is the one who has to decide who won, which of course is incredibly difficult, and also is a complete conflict of interest. It's fine for Kagami to ask her, but seriously, the coach needs to consider. Any other person trying out is most likely going to vote in favour of the pre-existing student to have won, so that way they still have a chance of making the team. Obviously with his Home Alone type injuries, he's not going to be thinking straight, but still, maybe if his fencing club is so prestigious and successful, he could afford to fork out for tryouts and lessons at his own studio instead of a school where library books can cascade down a staircase and injure you. Just a thought. I mean, we know that Marinette isn't that type of person anyway, but still. She's kind of pressured into a choice and she chooses Adrien, so Kagami leaves and Adrien questions her about it. Marinette's honest and says she isn't so sure as it was really quick. Adrien then tries to plead with the coach, who comes up with some bullshit like, referee has the last word. I'm sorry, the referee still has a concussion, and this 14-year-old who has a week's experience with the sport and isn't even on the team yet should not be deciding who makes the cut. Who is this guy? What a fool, no wonder he lost the mayor election back in season 1, he's useless. Kagami then gets the attention of Hawkmoth, who's like, oh, how sad you lost, perfect for my Akuma. Dude, how many sports are played in Paris every day? You have a plethora of chances to akumatize salty competitors. This is an excellent starting point, but why stop here? Just try again with endless other sports people. This is why you lose. You don't put the effort into rubbing 2 brain cells together. Also, he references her as that fencer. Surely he'd know who she is, right? They moved to Paris pretty recently, I assume, because Tomoe wants to work with Gabriel. Hell, haven't they known each other for years on the side? Also, do you think Tomoe would be pissed that as soon as they arrive, Hawkie's already possessing her kid? It's hard to say, but I think she would be. It's obvious that none of this Sentimonster Alliance storyline was planned from this point. I'm not an idiot, but it is fun in retrospect to think of the weird character interactions. Now we know the overall plot explanations. Adrien then decides the match wasn't fair and they should fight again, which is fair enough, honestly. But she did kind of suggest a no-holds-barred duel. It is her fault it ended up this way. They really should have just stuck to the rules. But our sunshine boy is kind, so off he goes. Doesn't even seem like the coach gives a crap, which is hilarious to me. Referee has final say my ass. Anyway, he reaches Kagami, who he hasn't realised all this time is a woman, and she takes off her helmet for him to be blown away by her beauty. Full-on pink bubble auras happening here. All the while, Marinette's watching on. Woof. He suggests a rematch, but she says there's no second chances in her family, so she leaves. I mean, is her mum even around? How could she possibly know there was a rematch anyway? I think she'd be more happy for her to go to the top fencing school in the city rather than quitting because she didn't win on the first try when they didn't even play the sport by the rules. Adrien isn't having it and goes full-on action movie car chase with Best Boy Gorilla. As they drive off, Marinette spots the Akuma and goes to transform into Ladybug in an attempt to capture and de-evilize it before it can akumatize anybody. Kagami in the car calls her mum and leaves a voicemail telling her she's a failure. How brutal. She then gets akumatized in the ring we later learn holds her amok as she's a Sentimonster. Obviously, we know that the heroes damage the ring to get the Akuma out, but we know that if you damage or break the object that holds the amok, doesn't that majorly injure or kill said Sentimonster? Gabriel would know that Kagami's the Sentimonster considering he's the one who had the Peacock Miraculous and was handing it out willy-nilly. This man is about to make a contractual alliance with her mother and just put her in severe danger. This man is chronically stupid and just wants to watch the world burn, even to his own detriment. I mean, maybe the objects aren't truly destroyed because of magic or some bullshit and he knows that. So in theory, she's never in any real danger, but you can't be sure. I doubt he's ever done this before. And don't the objects only get fixed by a miraculous ladybug throwing Lucky Charm in the air type scenario? It's just too risky. Anyway, she gets akumatized into Riposte and blasts straight out of the roof of her car, presumably to get revenge on Adrien, even though he's a nice guy and asks for a rematch. There's no helping some people, unfortunately. Adrien Wikipedias her through a friggin' ring symbol. I have no idea how he found that, but it is a bit nuts. We often talk about Marinette's stalking capabilities, but yikes, this is pretty sleuthy, I must say. We learn her mum and granddad were champion fencers, which begs the question, why on earth she'd even have to try out for some fencing school? I always kind of assumed that her mum and granddad were Olympic standards, so if the next gen, who already seems pretty good, is keen to join your fencing school, wouldn't you immediately say yes without a tryout? I guess maybe that's why she came in with the helmet already on to hide her identity, integrity and whatnot, who knows? But surely her mum would have just organised her to get in instantly. Maybe not. Riposte then decides to cut the car in half and sends Adrien flying. Are you serious, kid? Not wearing a seatbelt? Ugh, aggressed smooth brain strikes again. He's challenged to a duel, but he says that he can't because she isn't herself. Which is fair enough, I suppose, but also kind of laughable. Because it implies that he thinks he'd still beat her while she's in a strength-enhanced state. In any case, Hawkmoth panics and is like, no, wait, you can totally beat up my son, but only after you get the Miraculouses, Kay. I totally won't betray you. She takes the bait because, she is possessed and also has the intelligence of an angry 14-year-old, which is saying a lot compared to the idiot across from her that's incapable of wearing his seatbelt. Scratch that. I actually went back to double check that she wears one too, which she does. It's one of those waist ones. And actually, Adrien's also wearing a seatbelt. It just magically disappears when she cuts the car in half. So either Riposte has crazy fine dicing skills to cut the seatbelt off him, which launches him out of the car, or he undoes the seatbelt voluntarily to escape, which is still stupid, but I would argue not that stupid in a high-stress situation. The reality is, I think it was an animation error, and I treated Adrian too harshly. I'm sorry. Before Kagami leaves, she orders Adrian to stay put so she can slice and dice him when she's finished getting the Miraculouses. Ladybug finally drops in and attempts to stop the fight, entering into a fencing battle, whilst muttering about how Kagami doesn't deserve Adrian for being akumatized and fighting him in a possessed state. Priorities. Classic Marinette. Classic. Anyway, she nearly gets cleaned up, only for Adrian to save her and roll his ankle. Man, this gets better and better. He was launched out of a car, going God knows how fast. Not a scratch on this boy. He rolls Ladybug out of the way, and now, I can't walk. Give me strength. Riposte then begins rambling about how she'll defeat everybody because she's the best fencer. Ladybug gets all defensive and annoyed that she'd even get akumatized over this. Which of course has absolutely nothing to do with the fact that she views this girl as a rival, despite her showing nothing but contempt for Adrian so far. She tried to kill him in an unakumatized state. Remember, she tried to throw him over the rails. Anyway, they battle again, and she mercilessly crushes her under some concrete. Ouch. Ladybug figures that she can't protect Adrian at the same time as fighting this crazed swordswoman, so she decides to hide Adrian at the Louvre. She also alerts the public that there's an Akuma and they need to evacuate. There's even a pre-recorded loudspeaker message in the museum. I swear we never see this kind of stuff used later on. I miss this small level of world building. Normally they're destroying the entire city without a care in the world. So this is a nice change. She decides the safest place is inside an empty sarcophagus. Hope she didn't have to empty some priceless artifact beforehand, because that would suck. Also, Jesus, this is nightmare fuel! Even if you're not claustrophobic, you'd be weirded out by being put in an ancient coffin. Riposte finally arrives and friggin' cuts the Louvre in half with a swipe of the sword with a wind cut. The sword doesn't even touch it. Use this power more wisely. It would be so much easier to defeat the heroes if she used this power more often. How could you even defend against this? It's nuts. There's some possessive banter between Ladybug and Riposte before we cut back to Adrian just chilling in the sarcophagus, talking to Plag as you do. Also, hearing Plag tell Adrian, you can't disobey Ladybug is incredibly funny. The immortal genie is scared of a 14-year-old girl. Adrian disagrees and transforms anyway, and we quickly learn that despite having the magical catsuit, his ankle still hurts. You can tank a cataclysm, improve your eyesight, but you can't take the pain away from a swollen ankle. That needs to be fixed. Meanwhile, Ladybug and Riposte are still battling, and once again, Marinette is bested. Riposte goes for the finish, but not before Cat Noir comes in and saves the day. Man, this is a good episode so far for Adrian/Cat Noir. The dude has been vital in a lot of the conflict so far. Also, the banter between Ladybug and Cat Noir is strong today, along with some great Ladrian moments. There's just a lot of positives to be had here in this episode. They team up and initially have the upper hand until Riposte catches them off guard and takes advantage of Cat Noir's injury, isolating him, I guess, using a lockdown bar. Don't think it would be of much use if there was a fire. I haven't seen one of these before though, so I'm unsure. Maybe it's in case someone's trying to steal priceless artwork, who knows? Anyway, with the better swordsman of the two, Ladybug is once again on the back foot. So Cat Noir uses his cataclysm to get out of jail and limps forward. A lot of help he's going to be. Ladybug and Riposte make their way back to the Egyptian section, where she spots the sarcophagus and immediately assumes that Adrian's in there. Honestly, good guess. I wouldn't have expected that. Because, I would assume that a sarcophagus would have a mummy inside it. Anyway, she completely cuts it up. Jesus Christ. What part of don't get your revenge until you have the miraculous don't you understand, kid? Also, she just went from 0 to 100. We knew she wanted to battle him, but kill him? Whew. Well, I guess from previous moments it does check out. It's just insane. I'll also be completely honest. I was more insulted she'd deface some priceless piece of history like that. That was my first reaction. Then there was the realization she intended to harm Adricans. But that would have been bad too. But the history! Oh, I digress. Ladybug ingeniously traps her in the room whilst Cat Noir just slides down the stair railing. I realise he's probably doing that to prevent stepping on his sore ankle, but I couldn't help but feel like he seems a little bit too relaxed. She then tells him that Adrian's missing and he's all, oh no. Anyway. No time for that, as Riposte uses her cool Windblade move to break out, and Ladybug finally uses her lucky charm. About time, really. They battle a bit more and end up trapping her sword in the radiator and breaking it in half, releasing the Akuma. Miraculous Ladybug, Cat Noir makes a pun, you know the drill. Thankfully, Ladybug is very nice to Kagami. Seems she managed to get a hold of her emotions, which is a positive. Adrian turns up and excuses his absence from the sarcophagus, saying he hates being locked up. 5 seasons in, we all know what happens about that, buddy. Truer words have never been spoken. He then takes the saber to return it to Kagami, and we get contentiously the most famous line in all of Miraculous, I think, for the first time. How did I not remember this? Adrian continues to gush about Marinette. Kagami picks up on this and he's like, "Oh no, she's a very good friend." Poor Marinette having a crisis. Overall, a really top tier episode. It was a great introduction to Kagami, and from memory, I think I like this better than the introduction to Luca. Not sure though, as I haven't got around to rewatching that one yet. I might be eating my words. Lots of cute moments, great partnership between Ladybug and Cat Noir, easy and interesting premise, just lots to love. But those are my opinions, and now I'd like to hear yours. What did you think of the episode Riposte? Did you like it? Hate it? What about the introduction to Kagami? I'm curious for your thoughts, so make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know.